So is it AI America first or AI America alone? You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel. Happy Thursday. We've got a great Techstrong Gang for you today. We've got actually, you want to know the truth, this might be the most important Techstrong Gang we've done ever. We've got some really important issues that I think you need to know about and you need to weigh in on, meaning you, the public, because this is not a time for what is it, summer patriots or summer soldiers, Mike? What's common sense say?
I think it is, I'm not sure, but I'll just call it fair weather friends. How's that?
Okay. This is not a time to sit on the sidelines and hope things work out. I think every one of us needs to speak up and make our feelings and wishes known. We're going to discuss these things. I've got some great people who I know are not shy about giving us their opinions. Let me introduce you to them. First of all, well, let's not go out to sea first. We'll go down to Houston, to Texas first, and we'll introduce Ahola Ward, who's one of our regular gang members and is never short of an opinion. Hi, Ann. Welcome.
Hi.
Great to have you on today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. From Ann, I think we're going to go out and get sort of the royal view of this from our man in Silicon Valley, John Swartz. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, hi, Alan. Hi, everybody. I have plenty of opinions about these segments, so good to be with you.
I'm looking forward to hearing them, John. Don't hold back. Speaking of hold back, here's a man. He tries to be politically correct sometimes as he's navigating the 7 seas, or at least the Keys of Florida. He's our cyber expert, or just, life expert. He's been around the block a few times. Chris Blask. Hey, Chris, welcome. It's great to have you on.
Good to be here. I am in, as you say, I'm actually in what you would say is Key West, but to the point of our conversation today, I'm actually in the channel, the Boca Chica channel. The Boca Chica Naval Air Station is right here, where there are all sorts of interesting jets will be flying all day long. And as you look at strategy, national security, that military base will never shut down. Look at its location, look at the strategic importance of it. And what they do there, is topic for other conversations, speaks to our topics of the complexity necessary to actually have effective national security.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then last but not least, the sage of Harrison, our chief content officer, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, welcome.
I couldn't agree more with you about the importance of today. It's a seminal moment. Pitchers and catchers have reported for spring training, and it's crucial to this country.
You have your priorities.
I wish life was that simple. I wish life was that simple. Anyway, so guys, let's jump into our first block. Mike, you're going to kick off for us. But I got to tell you, watching the news yesterday, everything I need to know I learned from 3 or 4 movies in my life: The Godfather, Goodfellas, Star Trek, and Star Wars. They kind of are those are my true norths. Hearing everything that was going on yesterday, I was reminded of the eugenics wars. Now, I don't know how many of you know the significance of the eugenics wars in Star Trek. But as a result, humanity learned to do genetic manipulation and created so-called supermen. And one of those guys was a guy named Khan, who was in the original Star Trek series, and then, of course, in the movie The Wrath of Khan. And Ricardo Montalban, of course, played Khan. I'm reminded of this in what's going on in AI. We are on the verge of AI wars, right? With everybody here staking their claim. No one pledging to work together per se. Everybody wants to do their thing. And, risk be damned, full speed ahead, don't mind the torpedoes. And over this, we're in some sort of new imperialistic, we thought the neocons were bad. We're in some new imperialistic moment here where everybody wants to go carve out their empire. And AI happens to be the new world that they're carving. So, Mike, I gave my 2 cents. I'll let you introduce it from there.
Let's let John bring everybody up to speed about who did what to whom. And, it seems to me, John, at least, that, the vice president was in Europe and forgot his copy of How to Make Friends and Influence People. So,
Yeah, he played right into his role. He spoke. I mean, his message was completely at odds with what everyone else was thinking there. But yeah, my head was on a swivel like the rest of you yesterday from the news cycle. I mean, what Alan said it very well. What we have here is this AI land grab on a worldwide stage. Torpedoes be damned. I mean, just go full speed ahead. There, literally, almost simultaneously, you had actions going on in 3 different continents. First, as you mentioned, JD Vance was at this AI summit in Paris. And he talked about America first in terms of AI. He claimed our continued dominance, and he's pressed the European nations to back off. He called it excessive regulation that could kill a transformative industry just as it's taking off. As soon as he finished saying that, before he even finished saying that, we already had news that the French president, Macron, had pledged $112 billion of private investment in the coming years to accelerate AI developments. Late Tuesday, it's hard to keep track of this. The EU announced an Invest AI, basically a $210 billion initiative that includes a new European fund of about $21 billion for AI gigafactories. And then, not to be left out, Apple, which has kind of been lost in all the shuffle with the machinations going on, is finalizing plans for an AI push in China via a partnership with Alibaba. This is what Apple did. They went through several different companies. They talked to Baidu, DeepSeek, ByteDance, Tencent before settling on Alibaba. And they're doing this because the iPhone sales in China are suffering because they lack AI features that their competitors have. So there's this whole machination of people jumping into this area, kind of independent of one another. The one thing that I do want to mention also about Macron is he compared their project to Stargate, which kind of, in a sense, was one of the things Vant was flaunting. This alleged $500 billion project between Oracle, OpenAI, SoftBank, and the government to build on our infrastructure, and then we'll see how that pans out. But it's crazy. I mean, it is literally, we have various world leaders all grabbing for this industry, and it's not gonna end. It's just gonna continue to accelerate.
I absolutely agree, John, and you definitely summarized that very well, minus the Elon and OpenAI battle. But I would say it's not a surprise that Europe wants strict rules. That's nothing new. And China pushes state-backed AI, also nothing new. What I did not expect was the US to not sign a global AI responsibility pledge that China did. That kind of threw me. I mean, I knew the speech was going to be what it was, but oh my God. So concerns about AI's dangers, warfare, those all were raised, but we sort of just glossed over it because, we're powering it out. We're America. Yeah. Like it just was, okay, I guess this is how it's going to be now. I was shocking.
I thought it was interesting that the vice president told them they have a choice between either partnering with America or a totalitarian organization, country that's making AI models. And I'm pretty sure the Europeans are trying to figure out exactly who he's talking about. So,
I don't disagree with you. It's a sad day, a sad friggin' day to have an American vice president in France, nonetheless, at a country where our soldiers gave their lives to defend, not once, twice. And we made the world what it is and what it's been over the last century. Not by going it alone, but by recognizing who your friends and natural allies are.
In
it's
what
not
world does
Russia.
China
It's,
China made a pledge that we refused to,
yeah,
like, about responsibility,
because
like, that
it is clear in this imperial presidency, right? This is akin to making a play for the Sudanland, right? In 1932, they halved Czechoslovakia, and he called it the Sudanland, and they took that into part of Germany. We're doing it in Greenland.
it's also that this, instead of America first, it should be America alone,
Alone.
not
It's
just
not America first, it's America. And America alone in today's world will never succeed at that. We can't. You're throwing out Canada, our best, forget France for a second, our best ally, the only trading partner that we actually have a surplus with. And you're throwing them under the bus too. Do you think they're going to want to do business with us? This is not make friends and influence people. This is a page out of the Nazi party. I'm sorry. This is a Sudanland kind of thing. Chris, I see your hands up.
Since we, in fact, do not have anyone on, to argue to the side, because frankly, I agree with you all. However, let's acknowledge it and talk to it, right? This is the way we hack systems. We look at the way they are, whatever, right or wrong, and figure out how they're working. So, I'm absolutely not shocked. I mean, that is exactly what we expect of this particular administration, both, for two reasons. And the first, everybody's sort of acknowledging, is just to tick all you off. The chaos and keeping the heat, the World Wrestling, heat, good, bad, I love you, I hate you, whatever, you always play to that. So that's a big part of it. And which is a dumb idea. But the argument that, sometimes you need to rush ahead, right? And I do this literally every day with boats and business and everything else. Sometimes it's time to say, you know what, we just need to go do that land grab thing. How
Chris,
you can tell.
Chris, let me stop you a second. There's a big difference between you taking a risk with your boat or in your business versus betting the future of the human race on AI safeguards.
Well, let me. You're
talking about a cold versus metastatic cancer.
Yeah, absolutely right. But I do it in my own small way, having input on those things. But my point is, the way you know whether that's a good time, whether it's a good time to take the risk to go forward, is understanding the strategic landscape. I do not believe that this is a good time to do this. The risks of AI are what they are, right? We know them, and in the we're talking about the Bruce Schneier article yesterday, talking about the risks this administration is taking with the critical infrastructure information that all of us for decades have been working on protecting, is being savaged, being handled very, very poorly. No positives anybody can say about that. And we're also taking these risks. So we're compiling risks. So is this individual, high risk bet to go it alone on AI with no regulations, the wrong one? Even if it's not, we're doing so many other things wrong at the same time. We're compounding risks, and we're setting ourselves up for consequences that become unpredictable and hard to control. That's the problem.
I think we make ourselves look weak. To quote one of the great artists of our time, Jay-Z, "The strong move quiet, the weak start riots." We just made ourselves look like fools. I mean, we really did.
I undermine, yes, the geopolitical, yes, I don't know where to start, right?
So
yeah,
I feel like we got.
Is it any surprise that what Vance said, though? I mean, literally, he said it days after Trump issued one of his hundreds of executive orders where he overturned a Biden executive order about AI safety and responsible use. I mean, it was telegraphed. And JD Vance kind of enjoys the black hat. I mean, that's what he does. Plus, I think he's getting whispers or nice encouragement from big tech in terms of pushing back on regulation in Europe, which has always been a problem for these companies, especially Apple. So,
let's not make Apple the only bad guy here.
No, I'm saying when I say big tech, I mean
pushes back on there, including Google, including X and Twitter, where But Chris made a reference to a thing about Bruce Schneier. Actually, it was Bruce Schneier and Davey Ottemeyer, who I don't know if you know Davey, Chris, but Davey's brilliant, and he's a real dude, right? Penguin. blog. He's been in the security bloggers network 20 years. I know Davi. Now, what they said is what's going on with Doug is creating unbelievable cyber risks that our adversaries are going to exploit for sure.
Are exploiting now.
And probably
Absolutely.
already
All
are.
of my fear.
So,
Yes.
but really, it's the symptom of the same disease. They don't give a shit about risk. They don't care about risk. They made it very clear. We don't want Europe regulating. Risk be damned. We're going to beat the Chinese. We are the new American imperium. We're going to win the eugenics war. Instead of Khan, we have Musk. Okay?
Well, this
is
thriving
what
on
you got.
chaos.
It's not
chaos is quite
thriving
often
on
what they
chaos.
see this.
This is a return to imperial times. We want an American outpost in Gaza. We want the canal right near that Gulf of America. We want the red, white, and blue land. This moron in Congress introduced the thing. And we're going to win the next new world AI.
So
Well,
John,
yeah.
John, you're in the Valley. How are those companies going to spin this storyline? Because essentially, to Alan's point, they're all saying we're against responsible usage of AI because we're worried about regulations, so therefore leave us alone. That's an untenable position to be in long term. So how is an NVIDIA and an Apple and Google and all these other people going to come around on a storyline that doesn't make them look like they are completely off the charts?
I don't think they can spin it in any way, shape, or form. I sense here, even in their backyard. I mean, the employees of these companies are upset about what's happening with their companies. The people who are not in tech, and that's a vast majority of the people in this area, look upon tech as the villain, the evil empire. They're in cahoots. They're part of the oligarchy.
They are the oligarchs.
The amount of coverage here that's negative about tech is palpable, and I think it's well deserved. And these guys have gone through this. These guys play every side. They're almost soulless. You know, when Obama was in power, they all cozied up to him. They all sat around him and bowed to him. With Biden, not so much. With Trump, you just see them shifting with the wind. I mean, I can't get out of my head the inauguration and these guys flanked on the stage over his shoulder, all on one side, all on the Republican side, laughing, nodding, trying to look serious or solemn. I mean, to me, it was just that's a picture that they will never erase. That will go into history books.
No, sir. And let me tell you the hypocrisy of this. You mentioned the Musk, Mike, you mentioned the Musk group building 97 whatever $billion for OpenAI. Well, they're not bidding for ChatGPT. They're bidding for the not-for-profit OpenAI because the group says going for profits is now not good under the America First thing. It goes against their charter. They want to return OpenAI to its good original founding, which was to do good for people and make AI safe for everyone. They talk out of this mouth here, and then J.D. Vance talks here. That's called bull. This is out of Orwell. This is fucking out of Orwell, truth speak. Call it what it is. Stop being, I'm not going to be complacent and watch this go down. This is Orwellian truth speak.
People who wanted OpenAI to go be moved for profits. He was one of the people who was behind that idea until they decided they didn't want him to run the company, and he left.
Of course,
so he has
it's another case of hypocritical nonsense. Hypocritical nonsense. Anybody want to say anything else? I'm not done.
I mean, you're assuming to be a hypocrite, you would have to think about your implications of things. There's an empathy required there that's non-existent. I mean, we're just playing it as we go.
No, I don't think they're dumb.
Chaos.
I don't think they're dumb. They're very smart. Elon Musk knows exactly what he's doing, and he says whatever he needs to say to get it done. So does Trump. And so
Alan, assuming you're a company and you're building an AI app, and you're not comfortable with the lack of governance. What should organizations really be doing about all this to kind of be responsible and kind of, if they're inclined to do the right thing, then what is the right thing?
The right thing, first of all, the right thing should be apparent if you really are inclined to do the right thing. The right thing is respect people's IP, respect people's information, respect what the repercussions of your acts are. The right thing is never changed. You know what I mean? The true north is true north. Right?
For me, it's disclosures. I have it in my contracts as of this year. If I use AI tools, I will disclose that I've used them because I'm not going to pass off human time and labor out of retainers. That's not.
That's the right thing.
That was what I felt was
what?
a way to signal to clients I'm bringing in these tools, but I'm also going to tell you because no one likes feeling tricked. No one likes feeling ripped
Absolutely.
off. So that was an easy way for me to just let them know, hey, we're going to use these tools, but we're going to tell you. And every single client excited about it because they feel like they're a part of it because they are.
Guys, we're talking about an administration that just suspended prosecution of a law prohibiting bribing foreign officials. Okay? You want to talk about the right thing, about morals, about the Ten Commandments, about religious Christianity or whatever your religion is? I don't know of a religion other than the Ferengi maybe that allow for the bribing of officials. Are you proud to stand up today and say, count me in with them? Because if you are,
I'm actively renewing. I'm renewing my Canadian passport, so sure.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shut. Rather than just ditto heading, because I agree with what everybody's saying. In any adversarial situation, you need to understand the lay of the land, right? And right now, everybody arguing from our side are losing, right? Why? Well, because we're getting suckered into fighting the wrong battles and spending our energy ineffectively and not actually, the results are obvious. That's just pragmatically, fundamentally true, right? Globally, this is not just a U.S. problem. And really, when you break it all down, you can look at it as policy hacking. Right. And what's going on right now in the U.S. administration is a perfect example. Right. And the actors, Trump himself, has made a lifetime out of policy hacking, where you just break all the laws all the time. And you know how the laws and the policy works. And it's not just what's written down, do this, don't do that. It's knowing that if you do this, 9 times out of 10, you get away with it. The 10th time, you can delay it. You can delay it so long that situations will change. So you never have to deal with it. Someone didn't, got convicted and didn't, suffer penalties in the last couple of months. Exactly like that. Amazing timing for that one. So this is all a combination of standard conflict, right? Oligarchs sucking up to whoever's in power. Terry Pratchett, writes that into stories all the time. This is happening forever, right? We had policies and systems to prevent that or limit that. They've been eroded for the last 40 years.
We need our courts to put a brake on this. Look, the mayor of New York was indicted. The mayor of New York was indicted, and this administration ordered the Justice Department to stop the prosecution because we need him to enforce the administration's immigration laws in New York. If that's not corruption with the biggest capital C I've ever heard, what is it? Are we no longer a country of laws? Because if we're not a country of laws, what are we?
I was scratching my head about that one because I was just trying to figure out what the other hundreds of thousands of people who work for the city of New York are doing, I guess, because they can't do anything without the mayor.
Come on, guys, I feel like I woke up in Back to the Future 3 and Biff is in charge. Okay? That's what we're dealing with here. It's Biff world. And this is why I say you can't be complacent, shake your head and say, we got to hack this. You've got to be an activist. And if that means going to file lawsuits, if that means campaigning against it, there's going to come a point in history where they're going to ask, what side were you on? What side of the divide were you on? When Moses comes down with the tablets, what side were you on? Do you want to be, I was quiet? I won't.
To be really clear, I'm not talking complacency. I'm talking effectiveness. When you
Okay,
fight,
let's
stay as
be
calm as the
effective.
ocean and watch what's going on behind your shoulder, right? Remember, war is not the place for deep emotion, and you might get to be a little older, right? This is important stuff. We need to spend our time winning these wars. And again, I'm speaking globally. This problem is we have global policies that have eroded and they're being exploited and they're being hacked. Yes. Laws. We have a president right now who will break the law, every 5 minutes, knowing that the consequence, even though the policies and the process is there, won't actually get back to him. So we need to fix those processes. And again, I think in the information technology world, in the cybersecurity world, there are hints of the kind of systems that may help us do that. But this is still, this is conflict. Individuals need to work.
I would just say that, your wallet needs to follow your principles. And all too often we see people standing on soapboxes saying stuff, and then they don't actually follow that up by looking at who they're doing business with and what contracts and who's supporting what. These things now need a different weight needs to be added to the calculus of who you're doing business with.
Agreed. All right. We've exceeded our 15 minutes on this one, guys. We're going to have to take a break here on Techstrong, gang. We're going to come back and let's talk a little bit about security. You're watching Techstrong, gang.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
All right, folks, we're back and we're talking about AI and security, as Alan alluded to, and it's a continuing conversation. We talked about this whole DeepSeek AI thing ad nauseum at this point, but it seems like there are other providers out there like Anthropic who are offering money for people who can crack their AI safety and cybersecurity capabilities. And I can't help but wonder, Chris, have we shifted a gear here without really noticing it too hard? But is security now becoming like a preeminent feature of these AI models, and people are going to start making choices based on security before the fact rather than trying to fix it after the fact?
Yeah, in short, yes. Right. This is, as we're talking about in the last block, sometimes it is the right time to just rush ahead and see what happens, and sometimes it's not. Right. And for lots of reasons, not just, the current trend with AI. Security has been building itself into the requirement list of things for a long time. This one, and again, as the whole topic of the last block, this one's scary enough that people, to your point, I think consumers are taking it more seriously than usual. And to the point of a couple of the articles, in today's reference material, is starting to become an evolutionary thing. The nutrient gradient goes towards systems that aren't going to freak out your customers, right? And this is the literal, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein story that we've all lived and breathed, Skynet. And, how do I get comfortable with spending X amount of dollars when I know I have choices, and one freaks me out more than the other one? Right? Because they're going to get challenges. They're going to go through tests. They're going to fail it. They're going to fail horribly. If that was my main purpose, the main hat I'm wearing commercially these days, I don't want to be that brand. Right. So I think security, I have some hopes. Again, that's, my normal optimistic view of things, but I think the drivers are there a little better for this than a lot of things.
So, I said this before, I'll say it again. Vendors build security in when their customers demand it, and not a second before.
And the vendors that do it beforehand just go out of business.
Right, not a second before. And
right.
Now the issue here is what customers are demanding. It used to be that in some way the government was a big stick, right? Because when the government demanded safe cloud, they did GovCloud. When the government got worried about financial data, there was Gramm-Leach-Bliley. When the government, right, or the EU government, GDPR and AI regulations, JD Vance be damned, they consider it their job to be that big stick in terms of cybersecurity regulations. Now, we can't count on government necessarily to be that big stick. So who becomes the big stick? Is it the PCI Council, right, which was behind the whole PCI standards, which drove so much security 10 years ago? Or is it the cyber insurance companies who won't give you insurance if you're not, using secure tools? Someone has to come in here, right, as the big stick to help the individual consumer, because it's in today's world to get individual consumers or even like the huge, 6 or 7 million SMB businesses in the world to go like a school of fish or a flock of birds in one direction is difficult. You need the sheepdogs, if you will, to herd them. And I think we have to see who emerges. I think the EU will be one of them. We'll see what else pops up. I did an interview with my friends from Qualys, I forgot his last name, Dilip Bajwani, SVP of Qualys. They did the scan on DeepSeek that turned up all kinds of security issues. I'm glad to see Anthropic taking the lead with this jailbreak challenge, right? Because they obviously something,
Well, that
something's
plays
telling them that
plays really
people care.
Yeah, sorry, Alan.
No, go.
This plays really well into what Anthropic has done, and basically it's kind of this depth move amid of this chaos, need for speed, bigger and better models. Anthropic decides, this is what we stand for. This is why we are not like OpenAI or DeepSeek. And I give them kudos in at least bringing this topic up, because deep in the recesses of my mind, I keep thinking that we are hurtling eventually towards some major breach that involves AI, and it's going to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see how all the parties involved who rush things, how they're going to handle that, or how they're going to pivot from it, to use parlance out here.
I mean, you hope it works out well for them.
I'd like to get your opinion on this thing. I was talking to this other company, and I happened to get a look at some of the contracts they created, and they actually had language in there that says, "Thou shalt not take our data and expose it to any LLM." And it was interesting that they were using a legal case now, basically to say, we do not give you permission to use our data, even so much as to write some sort of marketing collateral type of thing, because we don't know where that data is going to wind up, and you must sign this, and if you violate it, we will sue you into oblivion. So is it a legal argument?
It's a legal argument until someone signs an executive order that says those are no longer enforceable. And then you got to get a court who's going to come up and have the cajones to say, yes, it is.
I get it. We're having a dark moment, but the fact that we're all able to freely discuss this without fear of
Today we are.
repercussion, penalty, or getting dragged to jail, like getting our tissue typed, like China does, we're free. We're free to discuss it. And I think if we continue the discourse that all of this will eventually come to light. We have a free press. We have a lot of things that we shouldn't forget that we have going in our favor. There's nothing that's going to take that away from us. I just can't believe that. I don't believe that they will win in that. But to your point, I do get asked. So I did a segment on ABC Sacramento yesterday about DeepSeek, and I was asked, is it okay to use DeepSeek? Is it safe? And I said, well, I would just assume, like I would in a search engine, that anything you type in there is it's going to be revealed if it's going to be revealed. The fact that there have been so many governmental agencies banning DeepSeek for security vulnerabilities tells you that right there. I mean, if this is a preemptive thing, but I do think we're going to start seeing LLMs called out in more contracts. I think we're going to start seeing that because people have to protect their information. And it's been a Wild West situation, but I think it's going to be dealt with on a private level. I can't see any legislation coming out of this administration protecting anyone's data.
Well, I agree, and I think the contract language. I'm always trying to look at things that just have to be done, and the supply chain world that I've been focusing on for in recent years absolutely requires at certain points in the predictable future certain things to happen, and contract language becoming code, actual code that operates in real time like software has to be part of that. I have to know that I don't call my legal people or send an email to have a human read a contract to find if there's a clause that disallowed my data to be exposed to an LLM. I need, as my data is being handled, the policies is being handled in to be transparent to the systems. And in certain hypercritical, high value infrastructures, I expect that to be technically implemented in the next several years. We're not talking a long time. The parts are all there. At this point, like any emergent area, it just requires an area where the cost is worth doing it. But then again, the savings in all the other things you don't have.
The rewards have to
drive it.
justify the cost.
Right.
Is the bottom line.
Well, wait,
Right, and they will.
we already have compliance as code, so contract as code is not far off. So I think Chris is spot on.
Hey, we got to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got one more segment for you today. You're watching Techstrong, gang.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
And finally, in the C block, we're returning to some of our favorite DevOps conversations, or in this case, DevSecOps. But Harness merged with Traceable. Traceable is a provider of an API security platform that happened to be created by the same team that runs Harness. So they all came out of the same labs. But there's been this ongoing debate about whether or not API security is a standalone category. Is it just part of a larger DevSecOps platform, or it's just another artifact? Just about everybody who made an API security platform came out with a statement in the last 3 days saying API security is still a standalone thing. Alan, I know you've been kind of following this as long as I have. What's your quick take?
Sure. So just real quickly, as you mentioned, this is a merger of kissing cousins, right? Jody Bonzai was the founder of both Harness and Traceable. He was the founder of AppDynamics, and I forget the name of the labs, is his funding accelerator, Unimaginable and something, was the initial money into both companies. Of course, Harness is a unicorn valued company, CICD. We've covered Traceable and Harness since the day they were both launched here at Techstrong. I'm good friends with Jody over the years. AppDynamics was one of our initial founding sponsors. I learned a lesson years ago. My friend Chris Hoff, and you probably know Hoff, Chris Blask, right? Hoff is the chief security guy now at LastPass, but Chris has been around the security world a long time. He used to get me going. He'd say NAC was a feature, not a product. And I used to argue because I had a NAC company. And I didn't want that. But long term, he's right. But that's the fate of almost every kind of tech product. It goes from being a product to a feature, into a platform. It gets melded onto a platform. And so that is the story of API security. It had its moment in the sun. You saw several players. No Name Security was a unicorn. Right? They raised a ton of money. They wanted the big ones. Salt, our friend Michelle McLean worked at. There was one before that Red Hat bought for about 400 and something million back then. Traceable was another. My friend Brad Feld said, if you're not in the top three, get the hell out. Because those top three, those first three companies to exit get the bulk of the money. And that's exactly what happened here. The top three companies got out. They got the bulk of the money. I don't think No Name got anything near what it was valued, prior to. I think with Traceable, and again, I have friends at Traceable in addition to Giodi, but they've suffered from this lack of AI API security being a thing. And they haven't been, running at full speed for some time now. And I think the right thing to do is to fold it into Harness. And they did. I think Harness, like every other DevOps platform, wants to be is a DevSecOps platform. And API security is a good part, is a nice add-in, a nice tuck-in to that DevSecOps functionality. I don't see many standalone API. Originally this API security was going to be a WAF replacement, web access firewall, web application firewall, because WAF firewalls didn't monitor API traffic, which is the majority of the traffic on the internet. But now API security is either part of a security company or part of a security play, or it's part of your it's AppSec. Right? Or API management in general.
So my prediction is we're going to see either more acquisitions of DevSecOps companies acquiring API security companies, or at the very least, re-announcing alliances with various players. There's still like half a dozen little startups in this space.
Small ones.
I
mean, the big ones.
Yeah,
the big one. Look, if you're not in the top 3, get the hell out.
Said Jack Welch at GE long time ago.
And he was right then, and it's right now.
Then, of course, Jack disavowed that statement after he retired. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that in tech over the years, though, having been involved in a few venture-backed startups. If you're not in the top 3 and you can't make a sizable, a reasonable claim that you're going to be in the top 3 in a short time, get out, pivot, sell, do something else.
Well, I have to say on topic, shout out to Roy Pereira at CEO of Unified API, who's a guest on one of the Inevitably Curve episodes that's will go online the next couple of weeks on this topic. Interesting person to listen to on it. But effectively, what more is there to say? Yes, right, and supply chain and so forth is mentioned again in the background material for this segment. This is DevSecOps. Working at Cybeats in a SBOM management company. These last several years, it's DevSecOps. It's fascinating how that's folding into other parts of companies better than it has because of the shared visibility of these things we're all talking about. So yeah, it's time, right? You didn't notice that, you weren't paying attention. So yeah, now it's time.
I got to leave you with this. You always have to remember they're cattle, not pets. And you know what the fate of cattle are, sooner or later.
Sooner or later, they're all hamburgers.
Yeah,
is that it?
That's the lesson of that story. All right, hey, it's been a rollicking Techstrong gang today, and Chris, John, Mike, thank you very much. Just a heads up, I'll be on at 2:30 this afternoon on LinkedIn Live on my Shimmy Says, and I'm going to have more to say about this America only, America alone AI strategy. It's actually America alone against the world strategy, and how where this can go wrong. Tune in on that. You'll also be able to see it YouTube Shorts, not live, but it'll be on YouTube Shorts and other places as well, as is Techstrong Gang. We've got a lot of Techstrong TV coming up for you the rest of the day. Until then, this is Alan Schimmel for Techstrong Gang. Be safe, be well, speak up. You wear out.